So this is your place, John, right here.
Yes, it is.
And you were saying that this is the last
House on the bluff walk.
Can we go over and take a look?
Of course, yeah.
Oh.
Well, the bluff walk goes
Oh, there it is, yeah.
and goes down between those two bushes. The two properties below us have closed off access to the bluff walk, but then it continues.
I see. But yours is open.
But ours is open.
Why did they close theirs?
They were worried that the bluff walk was a little too close to the edge, and they didn't want to reroute it.
I see.
And I was happy to reroute it back from the edge because I think it's important for people to be able to come out and walk along here and enjoy this.
Oh, of course it is. It's a tradition.
It is a tradition.
It's a tradition.
It's how I found
Now,
this
did you
place.
move your house already?
Yes. When we bought it in 2004, it was sitting right about on the line of the flagpole, right where this hedge is.
Oh, okay.
Used it as a rental property for about 6 summers. And then in the winter of 2009, we picked it up and moved it back 125 feet from the top of the bluff.
You're right.
Feeling that that would give us enough time, and if necessary, at some point, we would move it again. I mean, even the people who are the leaders of the revetment proposal have picked their houses up and moved them back.
Sure. But that just bides you so much time.
How much time, you don't really know. You know, erosion is a wild card.
It could stop, you say?
I don't think it could stop, no. But the pace is impossible for anyone to predict. Look at the smart people who moved the lighthouse. Now, they were as knowledgeable about this as anyone out here, and yet what they thought would be plenty far enough to move the lighthouse turns out to be maybe not so much.
What are they saying?
That's what they're saying.
How many years are they thinking now?
They don't know.
Oh, okay.
But
they would have preferred now, in retrospect, to have moved it even farther away?
Looking back, they are questioning whether they moved it enough. But it's that difficult to predict.
And so here you are. You're one of. Are you the only guy on this bluff that would prefer not to put the revetment in?
Well, I'm the only person who has not signed the notice of intent.
All right.
And I believe they want everyone along here to sign the notice of intent. That's a requirement for the Conservation Commission. But you know, in the 10 years that I've been here, and I've owned several other properties in Sconsit before this, they have come to me on a regular basis and said, will you participate in the beach nourishment? Will you participate in these jute bags filled with sand that are meant to stabilize the tow? And in each case I've said, no, I don't think those are the things that we should be doing. They're not as damaging to the beach as the revetment would be, but they are damaging, and they tend to lead to faster erosion around whatever is done. So if you do jute bags here, the properties on the sides tend to suffer from greater erosion.
Okay.
And ultimately what you lose is the beach. But it was an easy decision for me. I couldn't afford to spend that kind of money. It made more sense for me to pick the house up and move it back. And if necessary, I would do that again. That's something I'm willing to spend money on. Mm. But to spend money on something that I think is probably an endless stream of costs, that I wouldn't do.
Do you know how much money they're talking about?
Well, they have said, I don't think they really know. I think that's impossible to predict. So I talked to my friend Cornelia Dean, who was the editor of the science section of the New York Times, and is one of the country's most knowledgeable people about beach erosion. She wrote the book Against the Tide, The Battle to Save America's Beaches. And she has a house on Chappaquiddick, where they're having a lot of erosion and they're trying a lot of wild and crazy things, including hard armoring. So for many years I've been talking with her about this subject, and I've tried to learn as much about it as I can. She gave me the name of a professor of oceanography at Boston University who happens to be on the board of selectmen in Scituate. Now, Scituate has been doing various kinds of hard armoring since the Depression.
I've seen it, I know it.
They've become experts in it. And this man, Rick Murray, said, you know, whatever it costs you to build a revetment is almost immaterial. It's irrelevant. The real costs are the ones that you have to pay every year forever to maintain it. And he says, ultimately, revetments and things like that are only a short-term solution. The long-term solution is to get the houses out of the way of the erosion. And from everything I've been able to learn, that is going to be the ultimate answer for us.
Let me be devil's advocate just for a second.
Sure.
How often do you go down to the beach? You can't even get down there, can you?
Well, if you walk down here, just a few houses down on the bluff walk, there's a set of steps, and you can walk down there. All the steps are on town land, so anybody can use them. In fact, there's one homeowner who's put a welcome sign on his steps, which I love, and people do walk down there.
Oh, that is nice.
Now, when I go to swim, I usually go down into the village of Sconsit.
Okay.
But here's why I think the beach is important. Nantucket's economy today is built around tourism. In effect, the beaches are our whales. If we lose the beaches, our tourism economy is going to be badly damaged. It's inconceivable to me that the town could do something for the Sconsit homes that it wouldn't then be required to do for homes on other parts of the island that are also facing erosion.
But they may have to.
Well,
wouldn't it set a precedent that if the town allowed these folks here to do it with their own money, then the people who decided they might need it would have to do it with their own money?
No. What these folks are proposing is that they would pay for a small piece of it initially. Then they would ask the town to pay for the second phase of it, and they would ask the town then to own it and pay for the maintenance in perpetuity.
That I did not know.
Well, the people proposing the revetment have said that at a meeting of Sconsit residents.
All right.
So I take them at their word.
Well,
I don't think they're...
Yeah, there you go then.
So I think, and in a way, that's very smart of them, because there's no way to ensure that a group of private homeowners would maintain, or be able to maintain a revetment that is going to have to be maintained forever. And once this becomes a town project, then I think any part of the island that has homes near the ocean has a right to expect the town to do the same thing for them.
Right.
And these things are not affordable for towns. When you compare the costs of maintaining any kind of hard armoring or the sort of soft armoring that they've been doing with these jute bags, the smartest thing to do is to get homes out of the way. And I believe that's why I'm not the first to move my home back. That's why so many of the homeowners along here have moved their homes back on the lot, across the street, or to other parts of the village.
I guess another thing to consider is if they did do the revetment, wouldn't the property values of these pieces of property now be worth a little more than they are? Is that kind of part of the...
I don't think so.
No.
And I'll tell you why I see it that way.
Because you're a builder, you would know.
If you look at, they are saying that several thousand truckloads of sand are going to have to be brought down to replenish the sand around the revetment every year. I think any property that is near a continuous construction project with thousands of truckloads of sand arriving every year is going to be challenged to maintain its value. That's going to be a very undesirable area to be in. But the worst thing about it is when you build hard armoring, you lose the beach. And if you lose the beach, even if you never go to it, it's sort of the way it's our identity. It's like fishing here. The the sight of a real beach with waves coming up on it, rather than an ongoing construction project, is the way we as Nantucketers think about ourselves. Now, I'm a year-round resident, and besides the fact that I'm involved in real estate and construction, I think about the way Nantucketers' sense of identity is based on fishing and beaches and things that revolve around the water. If instead we build a giant construction project here and the beach disappears, because that's generally what happens, I think we've sacrificed a part of our identity in a way that we can't get it back. But ultimately, and that's my sort of philosophical approach to it, ultimately I think this is going to be decided on the basis of costs. Whatever the Concom decides, if the Concom decision goes against the beach fund people, they've said they'll appeal. If the Concom approves it, ultimately because it's going to be a town project, it's going to have to come to town meeting. And at town meeting, what we're all going to look at is what are the costs of building and maintaining this thing over not just our lifetimes, but revetments go on forever. I mean, Scituate's had their hard armoring techniques for 70 years. So we're essentially going to be staring at costs. Mm-hmm. And I believe that when Nantucketers really think about the costs of doing something like this, and not just in one area, but possibly in several areas around the island, we're going to say, you know, it's smarter for us to get out of the way.